Hello, this is going to be a lesson on functions, domain, and range. Okay, we're going to start out with functions. How do we know if a relation is a function or not? Well, it depends on how the function or the relation is presented to you. If it's presented as a graph, what you're going to do is you're going to use the vertical line test. Basically, you imagine a vertical line. You can use your pencil, for example, to do that test. Okay, and basically imagine that line moving from left to right, and the idea is to be a function it can only be touching one point at a time, and as you can see this graph passed the test, so yes, it's a function. Contrast that with the next graph. As you can see, I'm touching 2 points at the same time right here, so therefore this is an indicator that this is not a function. Okay, so remember, vertical line test, in order to be a function, the vertical line must touch only one point at a time as you move the line from left to right. Now let's talk about what if I'm giving a list of order pairs or a table. Basically, the idea is in order to be a function, the x value cannot repeat. So on a table is very easy because you just look right here on the column of x and you pay attention, does the x repeat? If it doesn't, that means it is a function. Contrast that with this one. This one, there you have -2 and -2, so therefore is not a function. Now if you have a list of order pairs, remember, the x value is always the first number of the pair. So this would be the x value, 0 would be the x value, and 1 would be the x value. So that means the x value does not repeat. So this is a function. Contrast that with this one where the x values are -2, 3, and -2. So therefore it's not a function because -2 repeats. The last form that a relation can be represented is by a diagram such as this one. And basically the idea is to be a function, there's two things that must happen. In order to be a function, the x value cannot repeat. That's the first thing that it has to happen. And there should only be one arrow coming out from each number on the left. Okay? So if you notice, the x value does not repeat, and there's only one arrow coming from each number from the left. Okay? Contrast that with this one. Here I have multiple arrows coming out from -3 and from 10. So therefore this one is not a function when this one is a function. Okay? Alright, let's go on to next page here. And what we're going to do is go ahead and stop the video and try these problems. Try to decide if this representation is a function, yes or no. So take a moment, and when you finish trying, go ahead and restart the video. Welcome back. Now let's go over the answers for these problems. Problem number 1. As you can see, we're going to use the vertical line test, and as I move it across, I see that I'm touching 2 points at the same time, so therefore my answer is no, this is not a function. Okay, number 2 is a table, so I'll pay attention for the x value. The x value does not repeat, so yes, it is a function. Okay, here problem number 3, the 3 and the 10, there's multiple arrows coming out from each one of them, so then no is not a function. Number 4, the x values are repeating, so then is not a function. Here, let's go ahead and use the vertical line test, and as we move from left to right, there is no, I'm only touching one point at a time, so therefore yes, it is a function. For the next one, as I move it across, I can see that I'm touching 2 points at the same time, so that means it's not a function. For the next one, the x value does not repeat, and I only have one arrow coming out from the left, so then yes, it is a function. The next one, let's go ahead and use the vertical line test. And as I move it across, I'm only touching one point at a time, so yes, it is a function. And number 9, to be a function, remember the x value cannot repeat, and that's what happens here. So then yes is a function. And here I can see the number 4 is repeating, so the x value is repeating, so then no is not a function. Okay, very good. Let's go on to the next part of the lesson. The next part of the lesson has to do with determining the domain and range of different relations. Okay, so basically there's two things that you need to remember. Okay, if you think about domain, so let me write it over here, domain. You want to think about x values. Okay, and if you talk about range, let me change colors here. If you talk about range, we want to think about y values. Okay, so now remember, on a diagram, the first balloon has the x values. The second balloon has the y values. So if I want to find the domain, basically what I'll have to do is write the x values. We usually write it in numerical order, so -3 comes first and 10 comes second. Okay, and the range is going to be the second diagram. So this is like my curly bracket there, and we're going to start with the smallest number, which is -2, -1, 0, 1, and 0. Oops, we don't need to repeat the 0, so let me erase that, and basically that's it. Okay, I almost made a mistake there. Okay, so go ahead and write the numbers from the smallest to biggest, and remember, any repeating numbers on the y, you don't have to write it twice. Okay, alright, so let's go ahead and do the next one. Let's say we do letter E here, and remember, domain is x values, so we're going to do these numbers right here. I'm going to start with the smallest one, which is 2, followed by 5, followed by 6, and 12. Now remember, the second number will be your y, so we're going to use 3, 2, -3, and -12, so the smallest number being -12, followed by 2, followed by -3, 2, and 3. There we go. Alright, let's go on to the next one. Here the x values will be -3, -2, 0, 1, and 4. And the range is going to be 3 and 4. Whoops, let me change the colors. Alright, here we go. There we go. Okay, now let's go on and do letter B. If you notice, I didn't follow the order. I didn't go problem A, problem B, problem C. Remember, you don't always have to follow the order, especially, for example, in the state testing. You don't have to follow the orders. You can start with the ones that are easiest. So that's what I did. Okay, so that's one strategy that you can do on the state test. Okay, alright, so let's look over here. Basically here what we're going to do is imagine our vertical line and I'm going to moving across. And remember, domain is the x value, so I'm paying attention to this x-axis. And as I move my vertical line, every time I will stop the vertical line at one of the points, and I'm going to find the x value for that point, and that's going to form my domain. So my first x value here will be -4. And as I move my arrow to the left, I see my next value is -2. And if I continue moving my line, I see that my next x value is 0. As you can see, this is 0. And if I continue, I'm going to have 2. Now notice that I have 2 points right there. I only have to write number 2 once. And as I continue moving the line, my last point is then x coordinate 4. So this would be my domain. Now, let's do our range now. To do the range, what we need to do is, instead of using a vertical line, we're going to flip this line. I'm going to turn this pencil, okay, and we're going to move from bottom up. And as I move from bottom up, I'm going to pay attention to my y-axis, because I want to know the y coordinate for each one of these points. So I use the ruler to see where the point is, and then I use it to see what's the y value of that point. So let's go ahead and write our answers. The first y value is going to be -3. Then if I move this line up, my next point will be -1. Followed by 2. Followed by 3. And the next one will be 4. And the last one is going to be 6. Okay? Very well. So now let's go on to the bottom, the next few problems. Okay, the next few problems, they're all graphs that have a solid line. Okay, anytime you see a graph that have a solid line like this, okay, we're going to do the following. For the x, we're going to set it up. Okay, every single problem is going to be similar to this. Okay, we're going to have a beginning and we're going to have an end. Okay, so we're always going to set it up this way. Okay, so here we go. So if you notice, I'm setting it up. Okay, basically what this means is that x such that x is an interval, and we're going to find the beginning of the interval and the end of the interval. Okay, so here we go. Okay, now we're also going to set it up for y. The y is going to be the same. The only difference is that instead of x, we're going to use the letter y. So here we go. Y such that, what is the beginning of y? What is the end of y? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set it up. Okay, whoops, almost wrote an X there. There we go. Yeah, almost done here. Okay, now that we have everything set up, let's go ahead and fill in the information. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it in black so that you can see that the blue and the red is something that I already wrote there. Now I'm going to add the extra information. Okay, and basically the way you do it, you're going to need to have your pencil or you're going to have your vertical line and a horizontal line. Okay, so basically use your pencil. Okay, basically what we're going to do is we're going to move the pencil across, and we're going to pay attention to the x-axis, and we're going to stop the pencil where it first touched the line. If you notice, it first touched the line right there. So that means, what is the x value there? The x value there is -3. And if you notice, that point is a solid point. So anytime you have a solid point or a solid line, you're going to put a dash. Okay, so then we found our beginning of our line. Okay, and I told you that I was going to write in black, and it ended up being red. So let me erase that, and there we go. There we go. Okay, alright, now we're going to move our line across. And as we move this line across, where's the last place it touched the line? If you notice, the last place it touches right there, and that point right there is 3. So let's go ahead and write 3 over here. And if you notice, it's an empty circle or empty point, so that means I'm not going to have a dash. Okay, now let's do the horizontal line. Okay, so let's move this line across here, and let's use this line over here. And from bottom up, where's the first place I touched that line? If you notice, is right there. That point right there, the y value of that is -4. So let's go ahead and write the beginning of our range is -4. And because it's a solid line right there, we're going to put a dash. And as we move the line, our horizontal line up, we're looking for the last place it touches the graph. And if you notice, the last place it touches right there, and the y value there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my y value there is +5. And because it's a solid point, I'm going to put a dash. Okay, alright, let's proceed to the next problem. So let's say we do letter D, and we move from left to right. So the first place I touch is right there, which is x value of -4. So let's go ahead and go to our domain here and put -4. And if you notice, it's an empty circle, so there will be no dash. And as we move the line across, the last place we touch is right there, which is +4. So we're going to put +4. And because it's a solid point, we're going to put a dash. Okay, now we're going to do the same process, but now on the horizontal for the range. We start from bottom up, and the first place we touch is right there, which is going to be -4. So we come here and we write -4. And because that point is empty circle, we're not going to put a dash. And we're going to move this up, and the last place we touch is right there. If you notice, that's the right last place, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4. And because it's a solid line, we're going to put a dash as well. Okay, right there. Good. So now go ahead and take a moment and stop the video and try letter G and H, and then restart the video to see if you got the right answers. Welcome back. Let's see what you got for the answer letter G. If you notice, it starts at this point right here, which is going to be 4. Okay, and it's going to be a dash because it's a solid line. And the last place it touches would be right here, which would be 4 as well, with a dash because it's a solid line. Now, if you use a horizontal line, for the range, if you notice, it will start touching the graph at -2, so with a dash because it's a solid line, and the last place it will touch will be +2 with a dash because it's a solid line. Alright, let's go ahead and do the next one. The next one is right here. If we move from left to right, the first place we touch for the domain will be 0, and we'll have a dash because it's a solid line right there. And as we move that line across to the left, to the right, the last place we touch is at positive 4, and we'll have a dash because it's a solid point. Alright, now let's do this one right here. I'm going to use the horizontal line, and the first place we touch the line is at -1, and it's going to have no dash because it's an empty circle. And if I move this line up, the last place we'll touch is right there, which will be the y value of 2, and it will have a dash because it's a solid point. Okay. Alright, this concludes our lesson, and now you'll be able to do the assignment associated with this lesson. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope that this lesson was helpful. Thank you very much. Bye.